Today we're going to clean the Sig Sauer P365 in 4 easy steps. This is going to be demonstrated on a SIG P365 XL, but they all come apart the same. I'm going to use just a few items, going to make it very simple. I'm going to use original gun oil, which is my favorite CLP. Original gun oil is non-toxic and non-staining. It doesn't stink up the place and you don't have to worry about getting it on your fingers. I'm going to use a bore snake. This is a little bit of a shortcut to clean the inside of the barrel, but it does a pretty nice job. I'm going to use a gun brush. I'm going to use some cotton swabs. I prefer these dual tip cotton swabs. They have a small end and a larger end for getting in different spots. And then I'm just going to use some cotton rags. This is just a bunch of cut up t-shirts. Step 1 is to disassemble or field strip your P365. If you have a magazine inserted, remove that. Empty magazine, always verify that your chamber is empty. While the slide's locked back, rotate the takedown lever clockwise like so. Grab the slide, push it backwards, release the slide stop, allow the slide to come off the front of the gun, turn the slide over, press the recoil spring and guide rod in this direction to compress it just a little bit and lift it up. That pulls out. Now you can remove the barrel. Just lift the barrel right out. That's it for step 1. We are now disassembled for cleaning. Step 2 is we're going to clean each piece individually, and the first thing I'm going to do is take the barrel. I'm going to put quite a few drops of original gun oil into the barrel, and I'm just going to spread it around lightly just so the entire inside of the barrel has some oil on it. I'm going to set that aside. That's going to start working on loosening all the dirt up inside the barrel. Next, I'm going to take the slide. Using it as a cleaner, I'm going to put some oil, I'm going to spread it around, and then I'm going to wipe it off. And that's going to clean it up pretty good. We want to be careful not to get oil into the firing pin hole. The firing pin needs to move freely, and we don't want to get any oil down into this groove in the back here. That's also where the firing pin is in the back. Other than that, we want to get oil into the slide, into the slide cuts, which are the ridges along each side where the slide moves back and forth on the frame. So we want to get oil in there. So we're just going to spread the oil around. Try and get all the surfaces coated with a little bit of oil or cleaner or solvent if that's what you're using. Just a little bit on the breech face here. Want to get everything coated. And once everything's coated, we're just going to take a rag and wipe it all off, and it'll come up pretty clean. Now to get down into the crevices and the nooks and crannies, I just take the rag and I push the rag down with the brush down into the nooks and crannies, and that'll help get all the little areas clean that we can't get into with our fingers. I like to use a brush with a small end and a larger end. The small end get into places like this. Get the breech face. Keep swapping out a fresh clean rag till you get everything nice and clean. And then to finish it off, get your cotton swabs into all the tightest spaces that you can't get to using the other method. And just clean everything up real good with the cotton swabs until you have everything nice and clean. Alright, once you get the inside clean, if the outside of the slide is kind of dirty, just put a couple drops on the rag and lightly wipe down the outside of the slide. Alright, now everything looks pretty clean. That came up pretty good. We can set that aside. Now we're going to do basically the same thing with the frame. We're going to put a few drops in a few places and then kind of brush that around in there and get all the dirty areas clean. Alright, so let's just clean this up. A little bit of the oil there, side here. We especially want to get these rails right here. That's where the slide moves back and forth. A little bit in the workings here, down inside a little bit. Take a rag and wipe it down as best you can with your hands. And then as before, clean the brush up a little bit. Then use the brush to push the rag into the tight spaces, especially along the rails here. Get a rag and push it through the grip a couple of times to get any dirt that might be inside the grip. And then, as with the slide, finish up with your cotton swab to get all the last little areas there. Just keep working at it with fresh cotton swabs until you get it all clean. And then make sure you blow it out to get any bits of cotton out of there. It doesn't have to be spotless, you just want to get the bulk of the dirt out of there. That could potentially build up and impede the proper functioning of the firearm. On the exterior, if it needs to be wiped down, you can just wipe it down with the cotton cloth. If it's really dirty, you could put a little gun oil on there and wipe it down. This gun oil is safe to use on plastics and polymers, so original gun oil is safe to use on this gun. On any part of this gun, it's not going to do any damage. So our frame is looking quite clean. Next we're going to clean the recoil spring and guide rod. You really don't have to do much to this. You can brush it out, get in between the spring here. If it's real dirty, again, you can use a little gun oil on here. This one is not very dirty, so I'm just going to give it a quick wipe down and be done with that. Next we're going to move on to the magazine. Now I have a video I'll link up here and in the description on how to disassemble this magazine to clean the inside if you think you got any gravel or dirt in here. But if you were just on a dry range, you didn't drop the magazine at all, you can just wipe this down. Wipe the follower right here, just wipe that real good. Make sure the follower moves up and down like that. And that's about all you need to do for the magazine. Now for the barrel, we put some oil in here earlier that has loosened up the dirt. So what we're going to do, we're going to use a bore snake. This is a Hoppy's Viper bore snake. It's a little bit better than the standard bore snake. It's a little bit longer. This has built-in copper brushes that are going to brush the inside of the barrel or the bore. And then all this material is going to be pulled through, and that's going to wipe everything clean. So this is pretty simple. You just drop the brass part through the barrel and then pull it through. It's going to be kind of snug. Make sure you get a bore snake for the right caliber. They're all going to be different. This one is made for a 9mm. And I would just drop it through a couple of times. The more rounds you have through it, the more times you can pull it through if you want. If your barrel is super dirty, you might want to get some solvent that's specifically designed for bore cleaning. But for most people, running the bore snake through a couple of times is going to do a fantastic job. That's what I do most of the time. And once you put the bore snake through, you want to clean the feed ramp right here. You want that to be nice and shiny. And then wipe down the outside of the barrel real good. Get everything nice and clean. Okay, step 3, we're going to lubricate the Sig Sauer P365. So we're going to follow the manual here, and the manual is kind of vague about how much oil to use. But what it says is to apply a light coat of CLP to the frame rail slots of the slide. So that would be these slots right here that go up and down the inside of the slide. This is where the slide connects to the frame and kind of slides along there. So in my opinion, you don't need much oil here. So I would put one drop, just one drop of CLP in that slot, one small drop in this slot, and then I would just take a brush and gently spread it front to back so that the entire slot is lubed. And then I would take a rag and just wipe off any excess, because we don't want a whole bunch of oil in there attracting dirt. And then next it says to apply a light coat of CLP to all external surfaces. So that's kind of vague. So what I would do is take a drop or two of oil on a cloth. Use that to kind of wipe all the other surfaces inside the slide. And I would put one little bit of drop down inside the hood, because that slides along the top of the barrel. And then I would just lightly wipe the outside of the slide with the smallest amount of oil on the rag, just to help keep corrosion at bay. Set that aside. We don't want to get any oil into the firing pin hole, so don't drip any in there or down in this channel here. As far as the barrel goes, I would do the same thing, just one drop of oil on a cloth and just give it a light wiping, so there's a tiniest residue of oil on the barrel. Frame, we're going to do kind of the same thing. A little drop on that rail, a little drop on that rail, spread it, and then kind of wipe the excess just to leave a little bit there. Take a drop on a rag and just kind of wipe all the metal pieces inside, just to kind of keep the smallest amount of lube on there. Alright, you don't need much lube. It also says a light coat on the recoil spring. What I'm going to do for the recoil spring, I'm just going to put one drop on this brush and just kind of get a little oil in there. And that's it for lubrication. Okay, step 4, reassembly. Alright, so reassembly is pretty straightforward. Take the slide upside down, take the barrel in this orientation, set the barrel down into the slide so it looks just like that. Take the recoil spring and guide rod assembly. Going to go in this orientation with the yellow stripe in this direction. This piece will be in the front. Press that in here like that. Put a little pressure on the spring until it sits in the gun just like that. Make sure your takedown lever is pointed down like this one is. So we're just going to line up the slide like that, slide it onto the gun, slide it all the way back as far as it goes, press the slide stop up to hold it in place, rotate the takedown lever till it looks like this, and now you can push the slide all the way back to release the slide stop, and now the gun is reassembled. You can just run the slide back and forth to make sure it feels okay, and that'll spread the lube around a little bit inside the gun. And now make sure you see the video I've linked up here for a function and safety check to go through the basic functionality to make sure everything is put together correctly and working as it should. If you like this video, please hit like below, please subscribe, and please check out the description for all the products that we used in the video. Alright, thanks for watching.